This is, I think there's 3 lessons here. It starts with A4. Find values using graphs, which is a pretty simple task. It does use function notation, which is going to funk with your little heads. You'll get a couple of the questions funking wrong, and then you're going to get a little bit funking anxiety. And, well, there you go. I guess then you're funked. But you just have to understand what the question's asking. Like this one says, use the graph of g, which is the function itself, to find g of 6. Now, do you know what this is actually asking? What is that piece actually asking? What's that mean to find g of 6?
6 plugged into the equation.
6 plugged into the equation, you know. You're plugging in an x value, and if you plug in an x value, what comes back? A y. That's all this means. Find y, which I put 50. Find y when x equals 6. That's all it means. That's function notation. So you go to the x-axis, and this one's really easy because right there just happens to be where you cross the graph. And what's the value of y there? 0. Now, on IXL, you just tell it 0. That's all you say. G of 6 is 0. Just put the 0 there. I only did just a handful of these. I'll do the next one, which is the other way around. Use this graph to find the solution. Notice it talks about the solution. That's what value of x, where g of x equals 4 makes y equal to 4. That's all you're finding here. And you don't have to draw these lines. In fact, you're going to use your phone. But what you always think about in your head is a horizontal line where y is what? 4. And solutions are where graphs cross. So they intersect right here. So what value of x makes this true? 6. And you just put a little 6 in the box and you're done. Anybody got any questions about that? All right. Why don't you guys do this upside down 4th degree polynomial? Now, how many answers is it going to have? 2. I figure if you can do that one, we're good to move on. Bryce, you got one of the values? Oh, wait a second. That's not a solution one. That's just one answer, isn't it? Sorry, I thought it was where it equals. It only has one answer. Bryce is right. 3. All right. Other than my initial confusion there, did everybody get 3? I saw some erasures. Saw some of y'all erasing things. Make sure you understand why it's 3. That way you don't have to do 60 questions on this one. You know, the more you get right, the quicker your score ramps up. Like it's once you start missing that the speed slows way down. Not necessarily because you go backwards, because the program decides you need extra practice. What you got? No. And I was in a hurry and I wasn't even paying attention. This one has an equal sign. That's when you think about a line crossing. This one has no equal sign. It literally says x equals 4. So you just go to where x is 4, plot your point, and return the y value. Well, because we had a question. Why don't you guys do the one right next to it real quick? The upside down parabola.
What is that?
That is f of 3. Savannah, what was f of 3? What was it? F of 3 is just where you go to where x is 3. Not y. It's not f of x equals 3. It's just f of 3. So which one is the answer? 3. Yeah, y equals 3 there. All right, that's really all I got for doing those. And this one, you see that keyword solutions. So you're not finding y values. What are you finding? X values. You're going to find x values. You see that keyword solutions, you're finding x values. So you guys do that one real quick. And ISL is telling you there's 2 answers there. There are. Kelly, did you come up with the 2 answers? Kelly says -10 and what was the other one? -2 and -9. I don't know if I agree with you. Because what I did is I drew that horizontal line at y equals 7.
Oh, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't read the problem.
Oh.
I did the same thing.
What are the answers?
There
you go, -1 and -10. You guys understand what you did wrong? Solutions means find x. Where does this line cross? Now, as you get towards the end, what they do is they throw in funnier looking graphs. That's really about all they do. And this is about as hard as it gets. It says find f of 3. So when you look, and that means x is 3, kids. Value of y, where x equals 3. Value of y, where x is 3. So you go to where x is 3, and you kind of glance at the graph, and you notice 2 things. You notice an open hole and a closed hole. Annika, is there anything at that open hole? That's the whole point of being open. There is absolutely nothing frickin' there. Wait, we're doing function notation. There is absolutely nothing. I can't do it. It'll slip. So anyways, do we pay any attention whatsoever to that hole? We look down at that solid dot. All right. What's our y value at that solid dot? -6.
Wait.
Is there anything at this open hole? So it is f of 3. So we went to 3 on the x-axis. We glanced at the graph. There's nothing at open holes. They don't exist. So we had to look down at the solid dot because something does exist there. And the y value there is -6. You good? All right. All right. A6 is about slope. Surely you should be able to do some slope. Hope so. Taylor, what's the formula for slope? And I hate to talk about stuff like this. I'm sure there's some kids who really need us to go over stuff like this. Now, for the first example, I don't actually want to do it. I want you to try it. Because you've been doing slopes since 8th grade. Okay, you've been doing slopes since 7th grade. If you're just lost as a ghost, there's the setup. 3 minus 4 over 1 minus 9. And what'd y'all come up with? 1/8. Well, so you have a -1 over -8, which is positive 1/8. Hopefully everybody can do slope. Anybody got any issues with it? If you do, you need to go talk to PK and then you switch over to Miss Cantrell's class for now. Gavin Cooper has 101 in there. Okay, it's a lot easier. Huh? Logan does? Holy crap.
They won't let me do it.
You know why? Too smart.
But
I don't care what you think. Nobody cares what you think. Nobody whatsoever cares what you think. Your opinion does not matter. Sadly, sometimes the only person that cares about your opinion is yourself. That's why it's called your opinion. All right, so everybody thinks they can do slope, so we'll just skip over that one, save a little time. Here we're given a line. Find the slope of line y equals -7/3 x minus 1/4. Emma, what form is that in? You're not in standard.
Oh.
Slope intercept. Thank you, two Emmas. It's mx plus b. Standard form of a line is ax plus by equals c. That's the slope intercept form. And you just had to know that to make this problem really, really easy. So JC, now that you realize it's in slope intercept form, what's the slope? No. Not doing that one. This one. No. JC, it's in slope intercept form. It looks like mxb. What's
M
the
is slope.
M is slope.
-7/3.
Look, honey, there's a reason I wrote that form right above the equation. It lines up perfectly. Okay, so Jaden, what's the slope? -7/3. All right, so you do a couple of those where you have some points or you have equations given to you, and then they give you some graphs. All right, as long as the scales are the same, all you really got to do is pick nice points. That's about the only thing you might have an issue with is picking nice points. You got to have nice points. I feel like this is a nice point and that is a nice point. And, we have a formula that we use quite often. We use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But when you look at a graph, it's not about the formula, it's about the concept. What's the concept for formula? Rise over run, right? So that's kind of what we focus on when we have a graph. So what is the slope of that line? 2/3. So we rise 2, we run 3, slope is 2/3. And I did several of these just to make sure. I don't think that the scale ever changes. What are they counting by on the y-axis? 10. What are they counting by on the x-axis? So you can just look at blocks. As long as those two match, who cares about the numbers? You can just use blocks. You do have to pick your points right. I'm pretty confident that where x equals 40 is a good point. And what's another good point? Where x is 60? I agree with that. So what's your slope on this guy? What do you go up, kids? What do you go over? There you go. There's your slope. 3/2. You guys better get through this lesson really quick. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Parallel. That's the word I was looking for. Bryce, what do you know about parallel lines? They run on forever. You know anything else? We're all listening about slopes, son. You're not Bryce. You can identify as Bryce when you turn 18 and have your name changed, but right now your name is Emily. Okay? I'll still heart your picture on Facebook when you become a man. I will. Good for you. Asia, what else you know about parallel and slopes? Yes, there is something. Allison? They have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Because they run on forever right next to each other. They cannot ever cross paths. All right. So, Haley Dick, what's the answer to this one? 7/4. Now, hopefully we got all the questions on that addressed. We're working on the one underneath, not to the right. We're told line A passes through 2 points and line B is parallel. Find the slope of line B. Well, what are you going to do? You're just going to find the slope, right? Be the same slope. So what's 6 minus 9? -3. How about 8 minus 6? 2. That's it. Moving on. Unless we got a question. Line P has a slope of -5/4. Line Q is perpendicular to line P. Ooh, there's a key word there. Perpendicular. Perpendicular. Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
They are at a 90 degree.
Yes. That does not help me one bit whatsoever with math.
Are there slopes opposite?
You're halfway there. Opposite reciprocal. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So what you're really tasked with here is finding the opposite reciprocal of a -5/4. Now opposite means change sign. That's all opposite means. Change sign. You know, if you go in the opposite direction, it's backwards, it's negative, whatever. Change the sign. Reciprocal, as far as a student would be concerned, means to do what? Flip. That's all it means you do. So, Leah, what's our opposite reciprocal slope? 4/5. That's what you'd put in a little box. All right, here we have one. The equation of line Q is y equals -2/7 x plus 5/8. Line R is perpendicular. What is the slope of line R? JC, what's the slope of the line that's given? No. When something is given in mx plus b, slope is the number in front of x.
Oh,
-2/7. So if the given line has a slope of -2/7, then our task is to find the slope of the perpendicular line. What is the slope of the perpendicular line, Lindsay? 7/2. All right, and this one's kind of like one that we did earlier, except we're dealing with perpendicular. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the slope of the given line. There's a formula for that. What's 6 take away 4? 2. How about 10 take away 1? 9. Then we're going to opposite reciprocal that thing. I agree with you 100%. -9/2. That is the notation for perpendicular. You should remember that. You should. There's a lot of things you should do. All right, so next up, and I think it's the last thing I talk about today, I hope it is, because I'm running out of time, is graphing. Nice good old review on graphing lines. And we're going to graph lots of different forms of lines. Now here we have the equation y equals -4x. What form pops into your head? Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b should be what pops up in your head. And every year there's kids who struggle with this. You know, you're just lining things up. And we guess we do need to talk about this. What's M stand for? Slope. What's B stand for? Y-intercept. You can kind of look at it real quick and determine what the slope is, right? What's B? 0. You need to be the kid that understands that you can add 0 to anything there is. And I say this every year. If you add 0 to my weight, I'm still fat. I'm not fatter. I'm not less fat, but I'm still fat because I didn't change anything, did I? No. You can add 0 to anything. It is understood to be there. You need to get that. So this tells me my y-intercept. We cross at the origin. And what do we do from the origin? Fall 4 and run 1 because there's an understood 1 under that 4. And I believe it would look something like this. Now, IXL, you only have to do 2 points. Obviously, that's all it takes. So I showed you one. Why don't you guys spend about 30 seconds of your life doing that one? And we'll go over it. If you're watching at home, you can hit pause and do things. Not sure what you're doing. Is there anybody I haven't called on today? I guess not. All right, open-ended question. Where do you cross the y-axis? 9. And from that y-intercept, what do? Go up 1 over 1. Or you can fall 1 and run left. But you should know that. So it looks a little something like that. All right. Hope there weren't any questions on that. These two in your notes, just the next two are in your notes to remind you of a concept. This is x equals -7. All right, this is basically x equal to a number. When x is equal to a number, what kind of line is in your possession? Vertical. It is a vertical line that crosses the x-axis at the number. That's all it is, vertical line. So where are we going to cross the x-axis? -7. Now, do vertical lines run side to side or up and down? Don't be the kid who knows it's a vertical line and draws a horizontal. Although I'm sure I have been guilty of that myself. Looks like that. That's x equals -7. Because anywhere on that line, what is x? -7. That's why it looks the way it does. It's the only way you can draw a line where that is always true. So we covered x equals. Anybody any questions on x equals? Moving on to y equals. Y equals a number. Well, if x equals a number is vertical, y equals a number must be what? It's horizontal. It crosses at the number. So what number do I get to cross the y-axis at? -6. I've done this for years, man, and there are always kids, and I'm not knocking anybody, but there are always kids who struggle with graphing horizontal and vertical. And in my opinion, it's just a really good indication of whether you're good at math or not, or if you have any potential at all. So if you're not getting the x equals and y equals, it's time to get it. It really, really is time to get it. All right. What do you want to do with that? All right, I'm going to entertain you. So this is a suggestion. Make it look like y equals mx plus b. So we'll do that. We'll have y plus 1 equals 5x minus 35. We shall take 1 away and we'll have 5x minus 36. It's a good suggestion. If you were freehanding graphing, it'd be perfect. You can't graph it. Why can't you graph it? It doesn't go down to -36. Any other suggestions? Thank you, Taylor. That's perfect. I was not expecting anybody to answer that. So I'm going to write down the original equation. And right underneath it, I'm going to put in y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Mr. Milbrath made you memorize that formula. That's point slope formula. That's how you graph this problem. If something is given to you in the form of point slope formula, you can find the point x1, y1, and obviously you can find the slope. Now you have to compare and contrast, and you have to understand certain things, but it's really not that hard. What happens anytime you leave a set of parentheses? What do you do with the sign? I swear it's always true. If you pull a number from a set of parentheses that's being added or subtracted, what happens to the sign? It changes. Now, because of this one's position, it's on the left-hand side. If you thought about it being moved to the right-hand side, what would its sign actually be? Negative. What you do is you change both of these signs. And I can tell you real quick, a lot of kids, when they first do this, are going to get x and y backwards. They're going to put in -1 for x and 7 for y, because that's the order they see on the piece of paper. Don't be that kid. All right? You get x's from the thing with x's. You get y's from the thing with y's. It's really that simple. Now, what's your slope? 5. Now, one of the first things you ever did when you were graphing is you plotted points. And then after you plotted points for a while, they introduced a single point and slope. So you plot the point and you apply slope and you're done with it. So we're going to plot the point at 7, -1, which is about right there. And from that point, what are we going to do? We're going to rise 5 and run 1. So I did one with you. I guess that means you get to do the next one. I'll give you about a minute. So you guys are trying to do that one right to the right. Change your signs, apply slope. It's that simple. Remember, it goes x, y. X with x, y with y. Those are not nodes. So we got intercepts. Brenton, you come up with a point? -9, -3. Anybody got a question for Brenton on that point? Just change sign. Allison, what was the slope? Yes, ma'am. That's all we do, kids. Drop, fall back 9, fall 3, fall 5, run 6. Looks something like that. Looks something like that. I'm a little shy of time and I want to get one done. It's going to be the last one. It says graph the function using intercepts. Now you can convert to y equals mx plus b, but you can introduce fractions. So I'm just going to make some quick notes. To find an x-intercept, let y equal 0. To find a y-intercept, let what? X equals 0. Now I know you're writing and probably not listening at the same time, but this works because on the x-axis, y is nothing. On the y-axis, x is nothing. Those are understood ideas. That's why we get away with this. And you don't even have to replace x and y with zeros. You can literally pick any object that you're in possession of, and you can cover something up. If I cover up that piece with y, I have 2x equals -18. I'm throwing it away because there's nothing there. If 2x is -18, what's that make my x-intercept? -9. So I just put a point at -9. Then again, I take my pencil or pen or middle finger, whatever it takes to entertain me while I'm doing this stuff, and I cover up the x's. -9y equals -18. Y is 2. Now, if you try to convert these to slope-intercept form, maybe on the first one you see it'll work because the numbers will be easy. Second one, third one won't work. So just use the intercept method and just take your finger and cover up a piece of it, and that's all you got to do. And that covers at least 3 things on IXL. I'm pretty sure I've already assigned them all. If not, I will here in a little bit. Anyway, that's it. Enjoy your day and your weekend. Yep. Yep. Oh, you should have told me. I'm sorry. You had to remind me.